Podcast marketing. How can you do that as a guest? That's what we're gonna look at in this video. If being a podcast guest is something you're aiming for but aren't sure how to get started with it, you can check out some of the previous videos I posted where I focused on the different components that go into being a podcast guest. Typically, there are two ways you can go about the marketing of a podcast as a guest. The first one is to wait for the host to send you the promotional material, and we're going to look at what you can do once you've received that promotional material in a second. And the second one is to actually take care of things yourself, and we're going to look at that first. Why in the world would I take care of the marketing by myself when I'm just a guest? Well, the main reason for that is that by you taking care of the marketing of the interviews you do as a podcast guest allows you to have consistency, especially when it comes to the branding. When we think about images, for example, every single host may be using different colors, different fonts, completely different concepts even. So if you go for the do-it-yourself route, that ensures that you always have consistency when it comes to promoting the interviews you do as a guest. And the tool that probably helps you in the easiest way possible when it comes to that is called Canva. Canva is a tool you can use to create images, infographics, and any type of visual content you can think of, and you can do so in an optimized way. Canva allows you to leverage templates, use your own images, and have them customized for specific social media platforms. So let's take a quick look at what Canva looks like, and then I'm going to show you examples from people and companies that are being podcast guests, and they do exactly this. They create the marketing material for the interviews by themselves. As you can see here, Canva allows you to create images, graphics, infographics that are optimized for different platforms and for different users. Twitter post, Facebook post, A4, we have presentations, posters, and a lot more. For social media, as you can see here, Twitter we saw, social graphic, Pinterest, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram. So the way Canva works is you can create your own images or pieces of visual content from scratch, or you can use some of the templates they have. They also have an archive of images that you can use. Some are free, some you have to pay for. And I'm going to show you an example of the concept I mean. Here's an example. As you can see, inside Canva, I have a few graphics, a few concepts for the Podcast Lab TV, the YouTube channel you're watching right now. So instead of me having to recreate everything from scratch every single time, I have the elements ready, and the only thing that I change is the image and the text. I can easily customize it, and I'll click on one, I'll show you what it looks like. Here on the left, you see we have the navigation. This isn't a tutorial on Canva, but basically here's where you can search for elements, add different elements, add text, change background, upload your own images. And as I said, I have a concept. So let's imagine this is the concept I like for visual content when I'm a podcast guest. In this case, what I would do is for a new interview, I would just change perhaps the photo. And as you can see here, this is something I've added so I can move it around. Text and podcast artwork. And instead of having to create everything from scratch, I can easily just click, drag and drop elements. So with Canva, you can create images very quickly. And now let's take a quick look at a couple of examples. The first one, interview valet. As you can see here, if I scroll down, they have the same concept. So pretty straight to the point. For their images, you can see that the concept is very similar. So what you could do is you could do something similar in Canva. So you create a template that you like, and then you always just have to change a couple of elements, and a couple of minutes are gonna be all you need. Second example is One Click, Lindsay Anderson, and she's actually one of the first people I saw who creates her own images to promote the interviews she does as a podcast guest. Here you can see a couple of examples. There is this one and then this one. So these are for the same podcast network, I guess. So the image is pretty much the same. But the idea is simple. You take a concept that you like and then you add elements and you make sure that there is as little elements as possible that you have to change. Typically, those elements are going to be the artwork of the podcast you're interviewed for, the title of the episode, and if you want to add a picture of the host, and that's it. The last example I wanted to show you is from Ashley Folks from Mad Lemmings. He does a great job at adding consistency to the pieces of visual content he creates. Here you can see some examples. This one, this one, this one. So you see he always has consistency in the branding, in the color, in the concept. So I would encourage you to do the same thing if you want to create your own images to promote the interviews you do. And if you'd like to take things up a notch, you can even look into Wave. The site is wave.co, and Wave is a tool that allows you to combine audio with visual content and create animated audio cards that you can use on social media. Here you see some different examples. The concept is simple. Think of Wave as a sandwich. On the one hand, you have the audio component, a quote you've shared, an interesting strategy, a process or something like that. And then you combine that with the other half of the sandwich, which is an image. You add both elements to Wave. You can choose different wave forms, and then the tool creates audio cards that you can use on different places. And as you can see here, there are different sizes, so you can create vertical, square, or horizontal. Now let's look at what you can do when the host sends you the promotional material directly. Once the promotional material is ready or the host has sent it to you, here are a couple of things you can do. The first one, you want to rely on a social media scheduling tool. A social media scheduling tool is a tool, obviously, that allows you to schedule social media posts. And in a second, I'm gonna mention the one feature I believe your social media scheduling tool should have. Before we look at that though, some quote-unquote best practices. A common mistakes many podcast guests and hosts make, and I've seen that because I'm a podcaster myself, I'm also a podcast guest, so I can tell you from both sides of the coin. A big mistake I see both make is bombarding on publishing day. What I mean by bombarding on publishing day is posting about the episode being published on every single platform. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. And a mistake especially hosts make is they mention the guest in every single post they do. And you may be wondering, why isn't that a good idea, Yann? Why shouldn't I bombard on publishing day? Here's why. Let's say you were to interview me and on the same day you tag me on every single social media platform. What happens is the first time I'm excited about it, I like it, I comment on it, I share it or reshare it, retweet it, depending on the platform I use. The second time I see my name mentioned on a different social media platform and I still engage with that piece of content, I probably don't engage as much. If I still leave a comment, it's probably short, something like "thank you for having me," if my previous comment was longer. So what does that mean for you specifically? That means that you shouldn't post about the interviews you do as a guest on publishing day across all of your social media platforms. Rather, spread out your promotion. So let's say you're using Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. What you could do is, instead of posting everything on the same day on the different platforms, you can say, okay, on publishing day, I send out one tweet and I post in my Facebook page. And then tomorrow I send out another tweet, because Twitter is a very dynamic platform, so it's okay to post about the content once again, perhaps with different wording, different hashtags and so forth. And I'm also gonna post on LinkedIn. And then on the third day, I post about it on my personal Facebook, let's say, if that's something you wanna do. So what this approach allows you to do is to make sure that you stay top of mind of people who follow you on different social media platforms. I personally know that if I were to come across an interview you have done and I see it on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn on the same day, after the third time I see a post related to that, I'm gonna be like, yeah, okay, I got it. On the other hand, if today I see a tweet and I'm like, oh, interesting, I listened to the interview and I like it, and then tomorrow I see a Facebook post, the Facebook post serves as a reminder in a way to me, and it's like, oh, here's the interview, and that reminds me of, I should leave a comment and say what I liked about the interview and so forth. So don't just blitz your promotion on publishing day and that's it, but spread out your podcast marketing efforts. A moment ago, I talked about the one feature I believe every social media scheduling tool should have. That one feature is the ability for you to republish a specific tweet or a specific post, and here's why that matters. Most interviews you're gonna do are actually gonna be evergreen content, which means that what you talk about, what you teach and share on those specific interviews applies today, tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now even. So you wanna make sure that not only you let people know about it in the days following the publishing of the interview, but you even do so in the weeks, months, or even years publishing. And how can you do that without having to be in front of your computer 24/7? Well, it's very simple. You can look into, there are different social media scheduling tools you can use. Some suggestions are Post Planner, Social Pilot, Meet Edgar, Social Oomph. These tools, and there's plenty of others by the way, allow you to quote unquote recycle your content. And for you, that means putting in the work once at the beginning, and then those tools are gonna work in the background and are gonna help you promote the interviews you do as a podcast guest on autopilot. With Post Planner or even Social Pilot, which are the two I use Meet Edgar as well with some clients. I've used Social Oomph in the past. The way these tools work is very simple. You set up some quote-unquote parameters. You say to the tool, for example, from this library of content, take one out and post it every 10 hours. So what you do once you have set up those parameters, you simply add content to the library, and then the tool takes care of picking the specific post or tweet and sending that out for you. That's fantastic, because now you really are able to set a system that is pretty much a set it and forget it, so that you can then promote every single interview you do by spending 10-15 minutes at the very most. You create the marketing material, you write your posts, your tweets, you add them to the system, and voila, you're done. The promotion is gonna happen automatically, and the interviews you do are gonna be published over and over again in a non-spammy way, of course. Okay, now you know what you need to know when it comes to marketing podcasts you do as a podcast guest. I've linked to the tools I mentioned in the video description so you can check them out. And if you are new to podcast guesting, check out, I've linked also to some of the past videos where you can learn more about podcast guesting. Things like how and where to find podcasts, how to choose the quote-unquote right podcasts, how to pitch yourself, or even what to do before you pitch yourself. Make sure to check out those videos. And last but not least, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel and activate the bell notification so that you won't miss any of the videos I publish.